health is very important because it's a crucial asset for entrepreneurs, business professionals, business owners, because without health, there is no wealth, because it's such an ingrained pillar. It can be a pillar in your business. That's how important health is.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today for this episode of Behind the Scenes. I have my amazing guest, Dr. Rachel Crowley, here with us today. She is a licensed, correct me if I say this wrong, naturopathic physician specializing in natural endocrinology with a focus on addressing hormonal imbalances, fatigue, and weight management. Dr. Crowley is passionate in helping professionals and entrepreneurs transform their health so they can reclaim their lives and reach their full potential in business and life. So I'm excited to have her here today and share a little bit more about herself and her approach to healthcare and business, because it is unique. And I don't think enough people talk about it. And especially us entrepreneurs who try to silo our lives into so many different areas, but we have to look at it from a holistic approach. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Emma. I appreciate it. So I'm really excited to talk about this because a lot of people are experiencing fatigue, burnout, exhaustion, and health is very important because it's a crucial asset for entrepreneurs, business professionals, business owners, because without health, there is no wealth, because it's such an ingrained pillar. It can be a pillar in your business. That's how important health is. So I'm really excited to talk about it today. So Emma, to start off, let me ask you a few questions. So have you experienced any of the following? Number one, feeling exhausted all the time, no matter how much sleep or rest?
Yes and no. I feel like there's some weeks I feel better than others. I feel like that's it varies.
And number two, struggling to get up in the morning and crashing throughout the day.
That one, not so much. I feel like that one's been pretty good, especially when I eat.
Number three, feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and struggling to relax.
Yes, definitely that one for sure.
Number four, feeling tired all day, yet unable to sleep at night.
Sometimes, yeah, that has definitely happened.
And last but not least, five, relying on caffeine to fuel you throughout the day.
Guilty.
Yeah. So these are just a few things of how entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, how they feel throughout the day. And I personally also experienced and struggled with burnout and crushing exhaustion. For me, I struggled to get out of bed. I felt hit by the train and it was just so hard. And I pushed myself throughout the day to get through the day. But I was able to really figure out what was going on with my body, and I was able to change that and really get my energy back up. So I've overcome crushing exhaustion, and I am committed to helping others go from feeling exhausted and overwhelmed to finally feel like themselves again and thrive in life. So my mission is to help others so we all deserve to live an empowering life and the life we love.
I love that sentiment because I also share I'm very passionate. If anyone's watched before, if you're new to the channel, very passionate about making sure women and anyone in general is living a life they love, because life is too short not to feel like you're thriving. And so I think this is a great approach to talk about, because sometimes with entrepreneurship, I think you bring up a lot of good points that I do want to get into, but I also want to give you the chance to kind of tell our audience how you got into this field. But they think that those signs maybe tend to be like they're not passionate about their vision anymore, or that they need to change. They kind of think it's like a mental thing and not actually a physical issue going on within them. Because I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, I'm just not like wanting to get up in the morning, or I'm not excited about my job. And they just assume it's like they need to change their offer or change like their whole business model. And really it could be some things that could be tweaked with your health. But we will jump into that part, because I would love to hear your response on that. But I would love to hear And I think our audience would love to hear how you kind of got into this area and why you started your business in
Yeah.
general.
So like as I was talking, like I had my own health journey that I was working towards, and
Yeah.
because I was very active before, and I just this like, crushing exhaustion just took over my life. But once I figured out doing certain different tests, doing different supplementation, doing different lifestyle changes and
Mm,
diet modifications, I was really able to put that back and really focus and get my health back in track, which was amazing. And this is why I'm passionate, and my mission is to really empower people so they have their tools in their tool belt that they're able to really reclaim their health, and that they're able to, help themselves as well to get their health back on track.
yeah. How long did it take you to kind of go through? Because I'm guessing the way you said that makes me think it was a lot of trial and error to go through these diet changes to see what works. So kind of roughly, do you know how long it took you and how many maybe attempts it was?
Yeah, it took me a couple of years because, the trial and errors, but that is actually another reason why I love the type of medicine that I do is I get to streamline that for all of my clients, and that they don't have to
Yeah.
spend years trial and error and tweaking, that we really can get cut through all, like there's so many different things, so many different articles and things on, on health, but it's hard to really clarify what health is. And so I'm able to help cut
Mhm.
through all that, be their cheerleader, be their mentor, be their support through their health journey, and to really figure out what are your health goals and help to achieve that.
Yeah. So when you kind of mentioned that like this specific area of medicine, so kind of how does this what you do differentiate from normal traditional um areas of like healthcare and wellness?
Yeah, so as a naturopathic physician, we're a doctor that blends modern science and the natural traditional healing together. We blend that
Right.
together. So we begin by discovering the root cause of why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, instead of covering up the symptoms with pharmaceuticals or a pill for an ill. So like once we discover your root cause and your symptoms, there are a variety of different modalities that can help support your body and promote the innate power of your body of healing through nutrition, lifestyle changes, and supplementation, just to name a few.
Yeah, I think those are really important because I feel like especially women are just given a blanket statement of, it's just this medicine or, you're making it up almost sometimes or, it's not that bad, you're being dramatic and, like I'm still trying to figure out some health issues that I have that aren't like altering or anything, but like, and they're just like, oh, just take this prescription and it'll clear up. And I'm like, well, it's not clearing up and that's not helping. So I can personally say it's super frustrating with normal modes of healthcare and nutrition and not nutrition, but like medicine that like a pill or prescription is not the only way. And I know, especially moms, like that sometimes that's the only answer for our kids, and we don't want them on that type of um that should be the only answer, so to speak. So I'm really curious to see or hear more about like those modes and how it can help with eliminating burnout. Because I know when we first connected, um, a lot of these feelings that people can have, like kind of how those questions you asked me at the beginning, can be related to health and help with burnout and those feelings of burnout because that's something I help with, but in a totally different sense of like we look at the internal systems in a business. You're looking at the internal systems of a person.
Yes. Yes, but they intersect, and it's important to do both aspects of it. So let me just, what you said as well. That's like there's two things I hear all the time is like, you go to the doctor, they run some blood tests on you, and they say that you're fine, but you don't feel fine. What's another
Yeah.
thing is that we look at blood tests a little bit different. We really look at the optimal range, not whether it's within the normal range. We really want to optimize that for you. And there are
Mm,
actually a lot of tests that are not even being done. So let me give you an example.
really?
Yeah. So, for example, thyroid health, we just look at some pieces of the thyroid, but we look at the full thyroid panel to really figure out what is going on with
Mm,
that. That's one example. And there are a lot of different specialty testing that we do, and we'll cover
yeah.
one of it when we're talking about the burnout piece, that a lot of people don't even do that. So that's why I really love this medicine, because you really figure out, like, you do specific comprehensive testing to figure out what's going on in the body.
Yeah. I think that's a good point because like it's it's so limited or like it's pulling like teeth almost to get certain tests done. And if you're not familiar with the healthcare industry or anything like that, you don't sometimes don't know what to ask for or how to advocate for yourself. So having this approach where you guys are you are being proactive about looking at and taking seriously the symptoms that are happening.
Yeah. So let's start with stress. And stress is a big
Yeah.
one. So stress affects our body in many different aspects, and it's actually a silent killer. And if it's left unchecked, it can really lead to serious health conditions. For example, increasing your risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, heart attack, diabetes, gut health issues, lowering your immune system, making you more susceptible to viruses and infections. So stress is a very big piece that is correlated with the burnout. So when you think
Yeah.
of stress, Emma, what do you think of?
Overwhelm, anxiety. For me, I know it's coming up in my body because I'll feel it in my shoulders or in my stomach. Like I'll have stomach pain. Um, and so there's like some physical symptoms and just I know for some people it's you don't even want to do like you don't even want to look at your to-do list or start the to-do list because you're so overwhelmed and you're like, oh, what's the point? So you just continue to be stressed about the overwhelm and the stress. And I hear that from a lot of clients as well. They're like, oh, there's so much to do and I don't know where to start, but then they don't want to do anything because they don't know where to start.
So the type of stress you're talking about is actually just one type of stress, and there are three other stressors that are in play,
Know
right?
that.
So the first one is the emotional stress that you're talking about. It's putting out the fires on a daily basis, living this fast-paced life, the emotional part of it. The other part is biotoxins. Biotoxin can cause stress on your body, and that's your virus and your bacteria, but you not necessarily have to have a fever, they just don't feel well. So that's another stress on the body, is the biotoxin overload. So we have emotional stress, the biotoxin overload. And third would be environmental toxins. Environmental toxins is we are bombarded every day with so many different chemicals, household products, cosmetics, every like pesticides, herbicides. So that's another stressor on the body. And in fact, environmental toxins can actually mimic estrogen, and that can interfere and cause problems with your hormones. So that's another stress on the body.
I didn't know that. Sorry, I'm muted because my dog's barking in the background, and I wanted everyone to be able to hear this because that I didn't. Like I've heard a little bit about like these toxins and chemicals, and I know like there's products specifically recommended, especially when you have newborns crawling around. But I didn't know that it could affect um your body. That's crazy.
And the fourth type of stress is the type of food we eat. There can be types of
Mm,
inflammatory foods. It's not necessarily like you have like your peanut allergy, that right away quick reaction. This is a delayed
mhm.
reaction in your body that can happen 2 to 3 days later, but you don't have to have like the hives, the itching, or all that. That's another stress
Right.
in the body. It's inflammation that's a stressor in the body. So as you can see,
Mhm.
you're bombarded, your body's bombarded with so many different types of stressors, environmental, emotional, biotoxins, and food as well. So those are the type of stress on our body. And what can happen is it can cause burnout. And burnout is a
Mm.
collection of symptoms of fatigue, brain fog, sleep struggles, just to name a few. And so that can
Yeah.
actually lead to adrenal fatigue, which is even a worser symptom as well. And all these aspects are working together. So your adrenals produce cortisol, And when there's a
Right.
cortisol imbalance, that's a driving force between low energy and sleep issues. Like you need cortisol in your body, you need your cortisol to wake up, and the usual cortisol curve would be high in the morning and it'll go down and it'll help you fall asleep at night because it's low in the evening. But
Yeah.
if it's imbalanced, the graph can go a lot of different ways. And in my case, my cortisol was very, very low, and that's why I couldn't wake up in the morning. I was feeling so exhausted in the morning. So really
Yeah.
understanding that cortisol is really important to figure out what's going on in the body.
Yeah. And I know that like correct me if I'm wrong because I don't know that much about this, but my husband's really big into health now. But caffeine and like when you have caffeine intake can also affect that as well, I think, which is my biggest problem is like drinking caffeine too late in the day. Yeah. Which I think a lot of entrepreneurs could relate to that.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
really important to like figure out what's going on, like why are you having the low energy? And what's really interesting is that all of these are interconnected. So when one
Yeah.
system isn't working, and it can cause a domino effect and cause issues in a different place. So let me give you an example. It's like a triangle. You have your
Yeah.
adrenals, your thyroid, and your estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And so
Okay.
for example, if you're burnt out and your adrenals, like those are in balance, it can go and cause thyroid issues, which can cause the weight gain, problems with your metabolism, things of that nature. And then it can also cause problems with your estrogen, progesterone, that can cause imbalances as well. So it's all
Yeah.
interconnected, and there's domino effects. When one is out of balance, it can cause imbalance in other places as well.
That's so, I think, important to know like how those are interconnected. And maybe could you, I know you talked about like weight gain and stress being triggering the fatigue and the overwhelm, but are there like other symptoms that audience members could be looking out for? Because I know some of these symptoms could be mistaken for other, um, maybe not specifically related to health, but things that they should look out for that would signify that they should get some type of these tests run.
Yeah, it really sometimes it varies from person to person, but just like
Right.
some symptoms is like the brain fog, the weight gain, all that stress that is in your life. And these are the different types of things, even like different things, how you feel with like hormonal imbalances and just, issues with sleep. There's so many different things
Hmm.
like that point to different aspects that could be imbalanced. But those are just a few things to look out for.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I think that's important to know because with burnout, I think we don't, we talk a lot about the mental aspect and the emotional aspect, but we don't think about the physical aspect until it's potentially too late. And I've heard stories of people who get almost to the hospital or are in the hospital because of the stress that they're under or the extreme workload that they've had to balance.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to know those triggers before or those symptoms and signs before it gets to that point.
Yeah, like I said, it is a silent killer because it can really put you in the hospital if it can get severe. So it's very important to take care of your body because that will help you. It'll increase your efficiency, it'll increase, your productivity, it'll increase your bottom line in your business when you are healthy and you are able to be that lean working machine that is able to really produce and help in the business.
I think that's why self-care is so important. People talk about self-care and don't think about, self-care in the aspect of drinking enough water and eating the right things. And like you said, it's very intricate with gut health and inflammatories and um, diet. So many this is new and is getting to be talked about a lot more is how different foods react to different people, and how that can be affecting your productivity, so to speak.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to get away from too many of your steps. I know we were going through them.
Yeah, so let's talk about those steps. So like step
Yeah.
one would be functional medicine testing. So this is the crucial
Okay.
first step. It's the foundation to understand your current health levels, and there's certain tests to help discover the root cause of fatigue. So we were talking about the cortisol. So doing a test for your cortisol levels, that will help to discover how the cortisol graph is and where in the day is your issue with the cortisol. And that's just one different type of test. There are a lot of different specialty testing that can be done depending on what symptoms you're experiencing and what are your health challenges, but that's just an example. And so
Yeah.
this is the building block to start your journey of rebalancing your hormones, rebalancing your energy, and really getting to the root cause of the burnout.
Yeah, you got to have that status quo of like where is everything now? Like that's something we do when we come in with new clients and businesses is what we audit, like what's the current status of everything? How are things being done? You know, is it optimal? Is it not optimal? So very similar step.
Yes. Crucial foundational building block step. And so from there, the second step would be optimizing nutrition and nutrients. So optimizing nutrition, we were talking about the different diets, and it's a key factor to support the body and the process of healing. Having a balanced, nutrient-rich regime is one less stress on the body. So
Yeah.
even though we're counter our bodies are bombarded with stressors, we're able to counteract the stress in a variety of different ways. So, as Hippocrates once said, let food be thy medicine. It's very powerful food. Don't underestimate it. So, all of these, there's foods that are anti inflammatory and antioxidants and full of flavonoids. So, those are the type of foods that are very powerful and able to put less stress and burden on the body. And as you were talking about the water piece, that's actually very important because a lot of people drink caffeine, because
Yeah.
they're so exhausted, and that's dehydrating. So hydrating with water to replenish your electrolytes is important to keep that in balance. And another
Yeah.
piece is the blood sugar regulation, because I don't know, Emma, you probably can relate to some of these as well. You've been so busy that you just forget to eat, or you go all day without eating, or you eat
Yes.
in a very stressed out manner.
I can relate to all of those. If anyone is like, well, who's watching knows, like, it's a running joke on my Instagram or my Facebook that if I didn't have my husband who cooks for me, I probably wouldn't eat because I get so consumed in taking care of the kids.
Right. So that's important, keeping, grazing throughout the day, keeping your blood sugar stable. That's another less stressor in the body, because if your body's dealing with the blood sugar roller coaster, that's more stress on the body. But keeping it balanced throughout the day, one less stress to counteract all the different stressors we're bombarded with. And
Can I
so,
ask a quick question on that one, just for like our audience and people watching? Because I know, sorry if you can hear my dog in the background, she's barking at kids who are coming home from school. But so with a lot of our audience being mompreneurs or busy entrepreneurs, what are some tips to help keep those blood sugars or like really good, easy snacks? Because sometimes I don't have like a full lunch hour to like sit down and prep. Like I try to do really well about meal planning, but I know that sometimes is tough for people. So maybe like quick, healthy grab and go snacks. Like one thing we implemented this week is blueberries because my daughter is one. We're introducing these foods. Blueberries was this week. So any other good ones to recommend?
yeah, so meal prepping, trying to set a day aside especially in the weekend or one day when you're free, just to meal prep for the entire week. So you are set for that week. Chop all your veggies up, have them ready so you can just cook them and throw them in, their pots to cook them. So that's one way. And some healthy snacks would be, the little fruits, blueberries, all the fruits are great, as well as, celery sticks or little carrots with some dips as well, some healthy dips. So that's like another way, another healthy snack.
Yeah, we're really big on hummus too in this house, like the flavored one, and I sneak hummus in my oldest diet because she likes the dark chocolate. So I get that one with the cocoa powder, and um she really likes that one. So I'm like, I'll get any vegetables in you I can. So those are all good tips. And I would add, just like for the meal planning one, since we've been really on it with two entrepreneurs in the house, um, in kids and activities, we have like a folder or a binder with crock pot recipes, and like we do like every couple of months, just one whole day, kind of like you were talking about, but we'll make a ton of meals and freeze them. So then we can pick one or two a week that are freezer crock pot meals that have been super, super helpful for us. And one tip that we got from someone that I think is a good one. It depends on where you live if you can get this, but since we live in PA, there's a lot of cow farms near us. So we split a cow with our in-laws to have better quality meat on hand, which has been really nice, especially with the kids, because sometimes we can just unfreeze some ground beef and make a meal when we need it, or a last minute healthy meal instead of going out to eat. So,
Great. It's fantastic. It's
mhm.
perfect. So those just like that's a way, to really get, proper nutrition in your diet and in your regime by doing these different things that can really help and save time.
Yeah, I like how you brought up the meal planning and the batching, because I think sometimes we think of batching in just in work capacity instead of thinking about it in batching parts of our life too, like personal as well.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
another aspect is optimizing nutrients. So
Yeah.
stress can rob your micronutrients. It can deplete them. And micronutrients are the vitamins and minerals that are very important to our bodies. And stress robs that of it. So it's very important to optimize the nutrients, which once again, it's one less burden on the body by helping with the micronutrients piece as well.
So that one, I would love to dig into a little bit, just because I don't think that one is one I know a lot about. When I'm guessing people in the audience sometimes don't either, is the nutrient piece of what do you even like, what kind of nutrients do you want to make sure you're having? I know that it's probably going to vary by people and like your body type, but what maybe are the optimal levels, like just on average? I know it's definitely going to be person to person, but
Yeah.
um what to look for.
Yeah, so going back to the first step for functional medicine testing, one test
Yeah.
is actually called a micronutrient panel. And in the
Oh,
micronutrient
okay.
panel, you can really figure out, person by person, customize it. What are you depleted in? Is it vitamin C? Is it magnesium? Is it zinc? Like, what are the different micronutrients that your body is depleted in? So that's one way to look at it. And another way is for stress, having these, dosing it, according to your health professionals and everything. uh, Vitamin B and vitamin C, they may seem,
Mm.
just your regular run-of-the-mill vitamins, but they are actually very important and they're very supportive of your adrenals. So those are very
Mm.
important.
Okay. That's good to know, because I'm like, I always see these supplements, and you know, it's like a little bit overwhelming now when you go into certain stores, because there are so many, and it's like, oh, I don't know which one to take, and how do I know if I buy this one it's like the
Yeah.
best option for me. So I think that having those tests, like you said, is probably a really good option that isn't talked about, like when you go to the doctors and things like that.
Yeah. And it's important, like, to really understand, like, there's different qualities in supplementations as well. There's like physician grade supplements,
Hmm.
then there's the supplements you find at the store. So it's very important to really understand the quality behind those supplements as well.
Well, that's a really good point. I think that carries into a lot that people should be checking for the quality, especially with food, nutrients, supplements, because there's some options that are better than others, and we don't often think about that.
And the last one is, as we kind of mentioned already, is managing our stress levels. That self-care is
Hmm.
extremely important. like as business professionals, entrepreneurs, business owners, we neglect to take care of ourselves because we put all of our energy, focus, and time into our business, into our family, and we fail to take care of ourselves. And as we said earlier, without health, there is no wealth. It will definitely help
Mhm.
your business to grow and thrive if you are healthy. So it's important to not just push through and feeling exhausted and say, oh my God, I'm not doing X, Y, and Z in my business. It's not necessarily because of the stress and the overwhelm. It might not be because you can't physically be able to push yourself like that. So really
Yeah.
important, self-care techniques throughout the week, having a massage, meditating, a nice, warm bath as well. Just some really self-care techniques are important. It can lower the stress levels, which can counteract all the stressors that we're facing.
Yeah, and one thing I've talked about on this channel before and slash with clients is setting those boundaries too for yourself because of things that could be triggering to you as someone who has like a past with traumatic relationships and abuse and things that there are really triggering, and that's come up in my client relationships that I didn't think would. And so I think knowing what your triggers can be, and sometimes you don't know that, and that's like a continual trial and error thing, but just knowing what your boundaries as an entrepreneur are, because we just go in and say we're going to do all this stuff and we don't set boundaries for ourselves to actually take care of ourselves. Like if you're not going to answer Slack after a certain time, don't do it. Even if you just do it once, like that snowballs. So making sure you keep the boundaries to have the self-care is really, really important as well for people, because I totally know so many people who are like what you're saying, they just work themselves and they have anxiety if they're not working. So I think emphasizing on the self-care is so important. Yeah. And you gave a lot of good examples and tips, and um like it doesn't have to be, I think people think it has to be fancy or expensive, and that doesn't have to always be the case at all.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's so many good tips, and I think there's so many good steps that you've shared with us, and I am going to link um her website below in the notes so that everyone can contact you and access your resources there. But just to not to summarize, but to um give our audience any last minute advice that we didn't cover maybe, or if we covered a lot and you're just like, this would be the biggest key takeaway from the call you want to make sure um, they have, what would that be?
It would be that you're worth it. You are worth it. So,
Yep.
give yourself, health is an investment, but that will be 100 times 1,000 ROI on it. You are worth it.
Mhm.
And you are able
Yep.
to, do better in business, be more present for your family because of that.
Mhm. That is so, so good. And I think people, especially moms and women in general, just forget that. And you are worth taking care of because there's only one of you. For sure. Thank you so much for coming and answering all my questions and sharing all your knowledge with us. Um, so thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Emma. And I hope this added value and insights on how to take care of ourselves and really be able to, fight that fatigue, fight that burnout, fight that exhaustion. So you're able to finally feel like yourself and thrive in life.
Yes, and hopefully prevent anybody from getting to the point of being hospitalized or having a serious medical emergency when they don't need to.
Yeah.
So thank you.